Thanks for tuning in to the Mission Matters podcast, where we feature successful, mission-driven leaders committed to creating a positive change in the world. Our mission with this channel is to inspire other leaders by providing industry insights, new ideas, and inspiring stories from the pros.
All right, Paul Feith here, host of this show where I interview business leaders heading up mission-driven organizations, always leading from the heart, inspiring others, including myself, and making a difference in their communities. The show is hosted by Paul Gregory Media, and Paul Gregory Media is a B Corp. I know I say that every time. If you find out more about B Corps and what Paul Gregory Media does, visit paulgregorymedia.com. I also want to give a shout out to the Sound Lab, the Matrix Sound Lab, right here in Naperville. We love their studio, and every once in a while, you just like to interview somebody in person. So glad to have this venue available with us. With me today is Clara Lucia Jaramillo-Carrier. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. And I've known her for years, but I wanted to make sure I pronounced her name the correct way. She's an expert in transformational leadership and coaching with more than 40,000. I can't even wrap my head around 40,000 hours. Is that like 8 days? No, it's got to be more than 8.
Oh, more than that of studying.
800?
Oh, yes.
So more than 40,000 of those studying hours, training, to your credit, a proud Colombian-American. You should be proud. Right?
I am very proud. Yes.
She is a speaker and a founder of Awakening Your Purpose and also Breaking Through Consulting and Coaching. So welcome. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Paul. I feel honored.
Yeah. And I know we also met you. I think you sought me out because I lived in the same town as you did.
Yes.
We belong to the same organization. It's called
Association of Consultants for Nonprofits.
Yes. ACN for short. That's how I like to
Yes. And I was brave enough to reach out to you and send you an email and say, hey, wondering if you would like to partner and work on some branding and strategy projects.
And we've been working together ever since.
Absolutely.
Been awesome. And I also want to mention that you just came out with a new book. It's part of the Fig Factor Media book series, Word Power, and you're one of the contributing authors. And you just came out with this book. I don't know if it's in focus, but we'll try. And it's called Purpose.
Yep. Very proud. It was actually a beautiful project and something that I had in mind for a little while, but due to fear, fear of not being enough or fear of not, writing good enough, I was just kind of hesitant to do it. And I took a stab at it and here it is.
There it is. And it's a great book indeed. And I want to dive right into it.
Absolutely.
So you talk right in the beginning of this book, living life with purpose. And this is not a new concept, right?
No, not at all. I mean, there's a phrase that I love, which is we stand on giants' shoulders. Before us came an incredible amount of philosophers, people that have dedicated their lives to study, the meaning of life or the purpose of life. We have theorists, we have, incredible people that have left us a legacy of concepts and, educational materials. So we honor them. So purpose has been going on for centuries. I mean, this comes from the original concept came from the Greeks, and what they thought was living life meaningful meant seeking excellence and seeking potential. And that meant seeking your potential through every kind of fiber in your body, in your thoughts, in your feelings. It was almost like a virtue.
I was going to say, it sounds exhausting. In a way.
It does. Well, it's almost kind of also some kind of like unattainable thing. Mm-hmm. But what I love about that is it's actually a choice, right? To live with purpose, to live purposefully, it's a choice that you can make at any given time.
As opposed to just going on autopilot and going through life and not taking a moment.
Absolutely.
We had some beautiful quotes in the beginning of your book. I remember one of them was by Helen Keller.
Yep.
Don't look outside of yourself, look within. Yeah. Which I love that because it talks about the state of mind somebody could be in. Yeah,
absolutely. And what I love about purpose and the work that I've done, in research is, purpose, you can't copy and paste purpose into someone's life. Purpose is an internal job. It's something that you have to look within and that you have to find within because purpose is netted through your own story.
Of course. So we've always been searching for meaning, right? Mm-hmm. And that leads us to the next part of your book, Yearning for a Meaning. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the interesting part that I have learned about purpose is that it originates in a very special place in our brains, the frontal lobe. And in the frontal lobe is a very special place where we can actually connect to our yearning. And our yearning is kind of a word that we don't normally use.
Yeah.
It's kind of the deep desires of your heart, the deep longings of your heart. So it's kind of like a romantic kind of way to putting that there's always these sense, and every human heart has them, regardless of where you come from, the language, the education, how much money do you have. Every human being has yearning. And examples of yearning are, we yearn to matter. We yearn to exist. We yearn to belong. We yearn to be seen and to be heard.
This yearning is in your frontal lobe?
It activates in our frontal lobe.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily come naturally to you. You actually have to be intentional to activate and to have a mindset that actually thinks about those yearnings. So there's a very special yearning, which is very personal to me, is the yearning to contribute.
Mm-hmm.
The yearning to do what I came to this earth to do. And that connects to purpose. So when we're able to actually find those yearnings that are meaningful to us, we're able to kind of awaken and activate that frontal lobe, and we're able to be more intentional, more mindful, and more conscious about what we do every day.
So it's not a reaction.
No.
It's something that you have to be very intentional about. And I think we're going to get into that and what that exercise looks like. You talk about next, what's your why? It kind of reminds me of Simon Sinek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Simon Sinek is an incredible person, and he has dedicated a lot of his efforts and studies into kind of like connecting one's purpose to how the biology of the brain works.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about him is the simplicity of this formula that he came up with, which is whenever you're going to talk about, marketing strategies or, your company or the services that you provide, do not start with the what it is that you do or the how you do it. Start with why. And the reason for that is because the why is what connects us as human beings, and that emotional side that actually ends up making decisions for us. So when you're able to connect with your personal why, the why of your life, the reason you exist, then you're able to plug kind of that frontal piece component to it, and then the what and the how will follow. But the why is what's going to connect you to that other human being.
Start with why.
Yep.
Start with why, which brings us to the 3 C's of life.
Mm-hmm.
What are they?
So very simple, and I like the play of words. So the first one is choice.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is chance. And the third one is change.
Okay, so unpack that a little bit.
So choice, purpose is choice. You choose to be purposeful or not. You choose to find that matters to you in life, and you choose to live life or to have a career that matches that purpose. It's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that you're a good or a bad person. It's simply you make a choice to living purposefully or not.
Okay.
Okay. Chance. Think about, your life. If you choose to live on purpose, you're taking a chance that your life or your career will change. So, to choose something gives you the chance that something that is already going in one way change for the better.
Okay. So that's chance.
Chance. And then the change is if you do the choice of living purposefully, there's a chance that things are going to be different, and therefore there's going to be a change in your life. And the worst thing that we can do is not do anything, because then nothing will change.
Great quote. I love that. You just come up with that?
I just kind of did. So I think about it.
Okay, so I think I want to go back to, and I don't know if we're there yet, activating the frontal lobe.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do that?
So there's a few things that you can do to kind of like enlighten that part of your brain.
Okay.
And please note too that we have another brain, which is the survival brain, right? That's the survival brain that we were created with, that when we were, cavemen and women, we needed that survival brain to protect ourselves from other tribes, protect ourselves from, creatures, protect ourselves from the dangers of life, right?
Okay. You're talking about like the fight or flight?
Correct.
Okay.
So when there was something dangerous at you, you would fight that, thing that was dangerous, or you would like just run away, or you would kind of like be paralyzed by fear.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, we still have that survival brain with us nowadays. The problem is that we're not being chased by, snakes or big creatures, right? So we don't necessarily, correct. So we don't necessarily need that, brain. We actually need to control that brain because not every situation is of that danger. And the way we do it is awakening that frontal lobe so that we can bring that yearning into the mix of things so that our decisions are more attuned to, instead of fighting or reacting to something, is to actually attune ourselves with that we're yearning so that we can more purposefully choose the actions that we'll take to meet that yearning.
Okay. So it sounds like we're getting to the heart of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an exercise or a chant or a script or something that we can connect that yearning to our frontal lobe?
There is. And the first and most important step is to stop and think. So I'll tell my clients that, and this think for yourself too. I mean, how many times during your day you are going and doing one thing and getting into the next thing, and it's almost this autopilot way of being.
Mm-hmm.
So you just go. You're like a little hamster in a wheel, right? There's a lot of effort.
You have a list to get through. And
There's a lot of effort. There's a lot of physical and emotional, even energy put in. But how many times do you stop and think about, okay, where am I going? And why is this important to me? And why does this matter? So stop and think is the first kind of conscious effort to break through that automatic kind of pilot being. Mm-hmm. So that you can be with everything that is happening within you, including your thoughts, including your feelings, including kind of like the body, what sensations are going in your body. So stop and think is the first thing that you do so that you can then choose a more purposefully way of being.
Okay. You're constantly auditing your tasks.
Yeah.
And thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you another kind of like, this is a little bit of an extreme image, but bear with me. So zombie movies. Have you seen zombie movies?
Yes,
so zombies. Yes. Okay. So how do zombies act?
They act like zombies. I'm not sure how to describe it.
They're like oh,
right. They don't really have a mind.
They don't have a mind. And when they, find a wall, they keep hitting that wall. Right?
Yes.
Hoping that something changes, but nothing does. And think about how many times we are acting like zombies, trying one thing for, the third and fourth and fifth time and nothing changes.
Maybe expecting a different result.
Correct. Right. So that's why these, choice, chance, and change is so important, because unless you go through those three things and unless you start with stopping and reflecting and being mindful of that you're doing, then you're gonna keep knocking, yourself against a wall and expecting things that magically would change.
Okay, well, a good visual there for me, anyway. Towards the end of the book, if you go through these exercises and you connect that yearning to your frontal lobe, there's a lot of benefits. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I remembered them all, but you had, I think, a whole page full of benefits.
Yeah.
To go through a few of them.
So I'm going to actually open that because it's, and this is based on, the research that I've done as well. But the benefits of living purposefully are incredible. And they include not only physical benefits, but also emotional, benefits. So when we live purposefully, when we live life more purposefully, we live healthier, happier, and longer lives. We fulfill our destinies. So I started with, kind of like the reason why we're here on this earth, right, is to meet a purpose, to be fulfilling, right? We find more meaning. We make a difference to ourselves and others, right? We succeed at a faster pace. We develop a stronger immune system. Can you believe that? So we get sick less.
So there's physical benefits.
Yeah. We reduce, this is one that blew my mind away, is it reduces the risk of Alzheimer's by more than half. Living purposefully reduces the risks of Alzheimer's by more than half. Living purposefully repairs your DNA. Living purposefully means that you may have less depression. When we
Wow.
live more purposefully, we are what? We are more energetic, right? We're more alive. We're more satisfied. We're more resilient. We're less likely to become exhausted and burned out. Have you been burned out?
I've been burned out, yes.
Me too. So living purposefully and reconnecting with that matters to us keeps you a little bit away from that burnout. We are more focused and we tend to thrive. We're able to delegate better. We're able to cultivate grit. I love that word, grit. We're able to use our resources of time, money, and energy more efficiently, and we're more productive. So who doesn't want that?
Who doesn't want every one of those things?
Living purposefully. So,
Wow.
so really, when we choose to awaken our purpose, right, we're able to also embrace hope, and we're also able to befriend fear. You know, when we really understand what our purpose is, although it could be fear, you know, there's fear, right, to choose that is fulfilling. But when we have that certainty in our hearts, we're able to befriend fear and use fear to move us forward.
As opposed to being paralyzed by it.
Correct.
Well, thank you for that list. I wanted our listeners to be sure to hear all of those different benefits. We could probably finish up the book with, you call it the Golden Circle.
Yeah. And we go back to Simon Sinek. And this is pretty cool because, again, it's a very simple way to, if you don't know what your purpose is, or if you're struggling with it right now, if you have an organization, and you kind of like know in theory what that purpose is, but if that purpose has not been channeled through everyone in the organization and through every area of the organization, then you will suffer. Because unless people as individuals are connected to that grander purpose, doing the work is going to be a little harder than if you were connected to it. So the Golden Circle is a simple kind of way of helping you discern what that purpose is. And it starts with the why, right? And what Simon Sinek says is that people mostly are very clear with the what and the how, what they do and how they do it. That comes kind of like very automatic and very kind of clear in a way. But when you try to define the why do they do what they do and how they do it? Sometimes that answer is kind of an empty parenthesis. And that's the work that you need to do. And that's the work that you need to do inward.
Yep. I tell a lot of our nonprofit clients that it's almost the opposite end of that. What would happen if your organization went away?
Yep.
And maybe that'll give you some purpose in understanding why you're doing what you're doing.
That's a great way to put it. The other thing that helps too is try to start with an action. So my purpose with what I do, with my consulting and my coaching company, my purpose is to awaken purpose in people. So I start with an action, awaken purpose. And then I go into, you know, the how I do it and then the what. But that particular, you know, answer about why do you wake up every day? Why do you go to work? Why does your organization exist? What would the world be without your organization? That's a great way to start kind of digging into.
And I like the whole,
that
you know,
purpose.
putting like an action verb in front of that purpose.
Yep.
Awesome.
The other thing too that helps kind of like in that discernment exercise, Paul, is think about yourself or think about your organization, you know, in the next 10, 15, 20 years. What would that legacy be? Like, what would you like to leave behind, right, when you're no longer here? So legacy also works to kind of like trigger that long-term thinking about what is it that I want to leave behind?
It's a great way to think about it.
And then the other question too is to think about if you have a career, if you're a job, if that is simply a job that you get a paycheck for, or if that means something else to you. Is that job, is that organization a platform for you to actually live purposefully? And if the answer is yes, you know, high fives, great. If it's not, then let this year be the year that you start thinking about, okay, so what could that be for me? Because we get this chance at life only once, at least that we know. So you want to make sure that you, one, know what that purpose is, and two, that you're able to fulfill that purpose so that you can be a greater contribution.
And plus going back to those list of benefits too.
Yep.
Well, you've said it all, I think, when it comes to purposeful living and finding purpose. I want to just go, because this is a leadership series, and I want to I always like to tap somebody just once about your leadership style, because you've been a leader for a long time. And I'm sure a lot of us we're always looking to learn from each other. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your leadership style or challenge or obstacle? Or...
Yep. So I like to attach, leadership to your personal story. So we all have a story that is unique to us. It's unique as our fingerprints, right? And it's our story that could be the contribution to how we lead others and how we inspire and influence others. So that's, it's very important for me to not only understand the story that I came up with, my own story, but also develop my story further than my past so that I can become a better leader, a better human being, so that I can become a better influence for others. And I think there's a sense of humility that comes into that learning, because I learned that leadership is not like a once and done thing. It's not like you read a book and you became a good leader and then you're done for the day or for the month, right? Leadership is an ongoing adventure. Leadership is an ongoing journey of you challenging yourself, challenging others, learning from each other. And at the end is your ability to influence, the thoughts, the actions of others, so that together you can, conquer greater success. So it's not just like a one person job, it's everybody, but you as a leader, you have a vision, you understand yourself, you develop yourself, you have humility to learn that you're not perfect, that you're not the one that has the final say. So all of that kind of like comes in that mix of even being purposefully as you lead, right? So everything connects.
I love the fact that you hone in and had some clarity around your personal story. One of our very early podcasts, I think maybe our third one, is with Shefali Trivedi of A Better We. And she talks about her personal story or your personal brand and developing that. Yep. So I'm going to just shout out to that so that people who are listening might want to go check that episode out. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I've learned a lot. And any parting thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah, thank you, Paul, for inviting me here. It's been an honor. I would say that, listen, we're not perfect. Thank God we're not perfect. We are beautiful, imperfect human beings, and we have an opportunity and a choice to make, which is to live life purposefully. And I think in that idea, just be kind to yourself, especially as we begin a new year. It's not easy to be on purpose, right? It's not easy to start, with energy and with meaning and intention.
After taking off all the holiday decorations.
It's, the holiday spirit is kind of gone and you're kind of like left in limbo, like what's next? So it's not an easy thing, and yet it is possible. So be kind to yourself while you kind of like get back into the swing of things. Pause and think, why is this of mattering to me? Why is this important to me? And give yourself, a chance to live purposefully so that you can foster change that will be long-term sustainable, and so that you can be a greater contribution. But be kind to yourself.
Love it. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. Appreciate it very much. And until next time, everyone, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Mission Matters podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.